trying to focus a little bit more on resurrecting what I considered failures, old watercolor paintings, and going over them in acrylic just to try to salvage them and maybe create some sort of beauty from the failures, in air quotes here. I don't really like calling any paintings that I do failures because I'm always learning and I'm always growing in my practice. But as far as sellable pieces, sometimes I just feel like they're not what somebody would want. So I feel like I have to clean them up a bit or resurrect them. But today or this evening, I just didn't have an agenda. I just wanted to experiment and play around a little bit. I'm painting on watercolor paper, 140 pound. And it's holding the acrylic paint pretty well. I've been going through a bit of a rough time lately. I'm feeling conflicted about a few things in my life, and it's easy to go into a place of regret and wish that we'd done things differently, especially as we get older. You know, when we're younger, we feel like we have all the time in the world, and then midlife hits us and beyond, and we realize we just don't have as much time as we thought we did. And there's this new pressure. You start to realize how precious life is. And we begin facing our own mortality. As you know, our parents pass away and friends. And it really puts things in perspective. So all that to say, I paint to help me process these emotions. And it works well for me. So this was definitely one of those instances where I wasn't going for perfect. I was processing and just letting myself go free and just create. I'm still learning acrylic techniques. Sometimes I try to paint as if I am painting with watercolor, and I quickly learn that that doesn't work. So it's all an experiment. I think it's really important when you're painting to approach the piece with a sense of curiosity. I know art supplies can be fairly expensive, and it's not always convenient to do that, but I think that's how we learn, just through experimentation. And I think that speaks of life in general. You know, it's all a big experiment. We learn, we grow, we improve, hopefully. I like intuitive style painting, which is what I'm doing here. I had no idea where I was going with any of this, but I enjoy it because I'm able to just clear my mind and just flow in the process. I remind myself that nobody else ever has to see my work, that this is just for me, and that seems to relieve the stress or the pressure of creating something perfect. But then here I am putting it out there to the world. So, that's a whole different story. When it comes to facing fears and creating something and sharing the process without feeling like it has to be perfect. It's the process of creation itself more than it is the technique or how the finished piece turns out. At least that's how it is to me. I'm mostly using golden acrylic paint for this one, and it is the liquid paint. So it's similar in texture to watercolor, in consistency to watercolor. So you can create a lot of the same watercolor effects with this paint, and I like that. And I also like that you can go over dark with light fairly easily with acrylics, which you can't really do with watercolor. And I forget that a lot. I paint a lot of trees. I just feel a really special connection with trees. There's something very soothing about them. And when I paint them, it's extremely healing and therapeutic. The way the branches twist and stand out, it just does something for me. So I almost feel a little guilty covering them with foliage, but not too guilty. I just really tried to capture the muted greens of August in this painting. It's as if the summer has just worn itself out and has decided to just relax a bit and let go. And the greens become so much more muted, and they carry a lot of browns in them. Now I live in the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina, and the mountains seem to be ever changing. You can look at the same mountain a dozen times, and each and every day it just looks different. And I love that. I love that about living here. This brush I'm using here was a brush from the kindergarten class that I worked in last year. There was a big bucket full of these brushes that were probably at least 15 years old. And I was working with the students one day. We were doing a collaborative piece for our class mom. And I forgot to bring brushes from home, and I pulled this one out. And I liked the way that, I liked the effect that it created and the splattering. The bristles are just really stiff, and I found that it was perfect for very delicate leaves. So I asked permission from my co-teacher, and I brought it home, and I've used it quite a bit. I don't think you have to have expensive supplies to create something beautiful. And I guess, I don't know, maybe part of me had to prove that to myself. More splatters. I love splattering. It's just so therapeutic. So I'll probably finish this piece up soon. I have an art show coming up the end of the month, and I am going to just accept it, however it turns out, and know that there's always somebody that finds beauty, even in those paintings that you might consider failures. Art just speaks to different people in different ways. Of course, more branches. I can never get enough. I have to watch that. I can overdo it. Well, I'm just about to wrap this one up for the night and try to relax a little bit before bedtime. I don't want to overwork it, and that's the tendency if I just keep going and going and going when I'm tired. So I hope you enjoyed this little process. Have a good night.